More NASCAR content? For all the latest in NASCAR, including driver interviews, race recaps, fantasy NASCAR, listener call-in shows, and awesome giveaways, tune in to the Lap Traffic Podcast on iTunes, Podbean, or your favorite hosting site with new shows every Tuesday night. Check out Lap Traffic on the web, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, and follow on Twitter @LapTrafficPC. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!
With the ButtKicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. ButtKicker, the future is feeling.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Full Send Racing Series here tonight, Tuesday on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. The drivers had an incredible race last week at Bristol where we got to see Cole Sacchetti practically go from last place to first to win at the last great Coliseum. But tonight, we come to a more historic racetrack. It's the Brickyard 188 presented by Lap Traffic Podcast. We are proud again to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor Earhart, who's going to be joining me this evening, as well as Rob Moyer running the productions in the background. The drivers get to see how they can handle the 2.5-mile course that looks like a brick, was once built with bricks, and only has a strip left on this track, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And the question is, who will find themselves into victory lane? Trevor, got to see the crazy, wild racing last week at Bristol. One of the shortest tracks these drivers had to tackle all season long. And now we head to the Brickyard.
Yeah, big difference. You go from the short track at Bristol to the 2.5-mile speedway here at Indianapolis. So two complete different driving styles required at these tracks. And Sam, I'm excited to be here. 2.5 miles, 4 distinct corners with a little bit of a straightaway in between them. Almost 200 miles an hour for these cars. This is going to be a fun race tonight.
Really should, as the drivers currently are on track for qualifying. The majority of them are just getting their first lap time started, and we're going to see on screen, first driver here is going to be that of Ken Campbell. Ken Campbell in the 15, looking for a strong run. What's been the talking point throughout this week, Trevor, is drivers have been notified. There's been a lot of races in these last couple of weeks of some major wrecks in drivers bringing out a lot of cautions. They've been notified, hey, you got to calm down, relax, and let's have some clean racing for these next couple of weeks. Or some drivers could be finding themselves being kicked out. So you got to be on the razor's edge of being aggressive, but not wrecking.
Yeah, we've seen it the last couple of weeks, especially at the short tracks, just some over-aggression by some drivers, especially lap cars that have caused some issues for some of our front runners. So we'll have to see how much these guys clean their act up here tonight, but I don't expect too much issue from lap traffic, but maybe a little bit of some over-aggression into these corners. We might see that later on tonight.
As the driver is getting ready, it's going to be that of Christopher Wade, top of the board at this current moment. And now seeing a lot of other drivers starting to find some speed. And the driver in my eyes here for qualifying to watch out for, it's got to be the 24 of Cameron Sarton. 24 looks quick, but Cole Sacchetti, he might try to double down to win 2 in a row and go for his 3rd win this season.
Yeah, Cole Sacchetti, Cameron Sarton, both really quick in practice right before qualifying, so I expect to see both of them up front. Ken Campbell just finished up his 2nd lap, actually ties that of Christopher Wade's time, but because Christopher put his time in first, that'll put Ken Campbell in 2nd.
As drivers are wrapping around this course, got a minute and a half left, and if you have not gotten on track at this current moment, they're not even going to get 1 lap in, as Christopher Wade is top of the board at this time, as Cameron Sarton, 2nd lap, comes across the line. and it is only going to be 6th fastest. That first lap not validated, but Chris Stitt's going to be topping the board now. Zach Hall moves up to 2nd. Seeing a little bit of shifting as Zach Hall still has 1 more lap to go.
A great first lap there by the 5 of Zach Hall. Puts himself 2nd with another lap to go for himself, so we'll have to wait and see what the 5 car can do. But great lap there by Chris Stitz, putting the 22 machine on the provisional pole so far.
As we're seeing also on screen, going to be the 6th machine of Travis Dart, going to be bumped up to 12th with a 53.378. As we look at other drivers looking for a good run, it's going to be that of Andrew Medlin, winner from Charlotte, who's going to be starting their first lap. And for this of Andrew Medlin, I don't know if he's even going to get this lap in. He's got 30 seconds left, and this is the start of his first lap.
Yeah, you're looking at a 53.1 his pole time right now, and with him just now getting that lap, I mean, it's going to be really close for the Charlotte winner to see if he can even get his first lap in.
Chris Stitz still top of the board. Zach Hall was not able to best him on his 2nd lap. He's right on board with the 12. I mean, Trevor, we got ourselves only that 8 seconds left, but we talked about the distinct differences of these corners into 3. We see this 12 into the short chute. This track so known for the amazement that this course is, 2.5 miles. But man, what are going to be some of the big factors to watch out for here tonight?
It's going to be tire wear for these guys. These cars are going to start off loose, but as the run goes on, they're going to get tight. And so managing those tires and managing the runs you can get off of turn number 2 and turn number 4, the runs that you can get off those 2 corners are going to be key to carrying the speed down these long straightaways to make up time on the cars ahead of you.
As the drivers are done with qualifying, they're gridding up. It's time to see how these drivers are going to tackle with that loose car. Before we get too ahead of ourselves, this is your qualifying results. It's going to be that of Chris Stitz in 22. Going to be taking that pole award with Zach Hall to his outside. Christopher Wade's going to be in 3rd with Ken Campbell in 4th. Nick Collins going to find himself into 5th place with Ross Tatum back in 6th. Last week's winner, Cole Sicchetti, going to be in 7th. With Robert Sherwood hoping that this go around, it's been 2 weeks of practically hell for the 2. He's hoping that tonight he can at least finish inside of the top 10. Going to be starting 8th for that of Robert Sherwood. Cameron Sarton's going to be in 9th, and finishing out your top 10, it's going to be that of Joshua Altus.
Will Bustle will roll off 11th. Travis Darts is outside in 12th. Timmy McNally 13th. Brandon Pierce rolls off 14th. Lucas Lyons 15th. Seth Reed 16th. Sam Siegel 17th. Philip Chavez 18th. And 19th and 20th will be Charles Hugel and Martin Perry.
Then it's going to be that of Michael Boyd in 21st with Brian Lynch in 22nd position. Zachary Peterson in 23rd. Then starting the drivers that decided not to put a time down. Aaron Hale, Bo Tiffany going to be finishing out your top 25. We saw Andrew Medlin try to get at least 1 lap in, ran out of time. He'll start all the way back in 26th position with that of Brian Burchett. And Doug Pierce going to be finishing out our 28 drivers here tonight, getting ready to tackle 75 laps in total. But we do have a stage break at that of lap 25 that these drivers will aim for. And what I was given on the numbers here, Trevor, the driver should be good to make it to that stage break if we stay green. But I think that's been kind of the talking point on top of, the rumors going through. How are these drivers going to be able to handle the cold tires with how loose this machine is?
Yeah, it's going to be a sketchy couple of opening laps for these guys on cold tires when you're stacked up on top of one another trying to make up positions. So hopefully these guys can hang on to it, get to that stage break, get a good green flag run in. And after that stage break, Sam, the next thing is going to be green flag pit stops. If we get to that point, how do they attack the pit strategy later on in the race if we get a long green flag run?
These drivers were notified about that at 25 to 28 laps for fuel if they're by themselves. Could stretch it out a little bit longer if they're in the draft. So all the strategy is out there on who could get a win here tonight. But with Chris Stitz getting the pole, 22 has been showing some great speed here of late, but still searching for that first win is Stitz. He thought it was going to come last week. It didn't. But tonight could be a great showing, especially Trevor talked about the loose sensation, but the air also is going to be a big factor.
Yeah, having that pole position, being out front, if he can get a good restart here and stay in front of the 5, having that clean air is going to be key, not being in the dirty air. It's going to be good for Chris Stitz after coming so close last week at Bristol, the 22 machine, trying to get this race started off strong.
As the drivers are heading through that of the final bends, getting ourselves ready, again for 75 laps in total, but we have our first stage break at the end of lap 25 for the top that of 10 drivers, hoping to be in the right positioning for themselves as we're going around the last corner, ready to go racing once again. Our 10th race of the season for the Full Send Racing Series. It's the Brickyard 188 presented by the Lap Traffic Podcast. Drivers see that pace car go off. They're into the restart zone, and we're ready to go green flag racing here this evening as Chris Stitz gets on the loud pedal. Zach Hall, he's keeping it side by side as they come across the line.
A great start there on the outside by Zach Hall. He's going to be side by side with our pole sitter, Chris Stitz, in turn number 1. But Stitz should have the better run here out of 1. Looks like he does. He's going to clear the 5, and that allows Christopher Wade to attack Zach Hall.
As they all stay in line, they're going to be protecting every position and get to the low end as quick as possible. Zach Hall, though, going to be now hitting the back stretch, and another factor, the draft. Who's going to get the help? And it looks like it will go to the 5 as Christopher Wade really has no assistance on that lower line, and the 5 machine already almost clear into turn 3.
Yeah, a little bit of a push there from the 68 of Nick Hall into the back of Zach Hall in the 5. Almost got the 5 clear of Christopher Wade, but Wade having that preferred line on the bottom, able to keep it side by side here through turn 3 with Zach Hall. Caution's out.
They're wrecking behind, and it's Andrew Medlin, and as well, that of Michael Boyd going to be involved with this one. And Michael Boyd's been struggling this season, and looks like he could be around the incident of this point as both that of Michael Boyd and Andrew Medlin involved with this wreck.
Take a look here on the Freaky Fast replay to see what happens here to Andrew Medlin as he dives it into turn number 3. With Boyd, looks like just kind of got run over from behind there, did Medlin, by the 81. And Medlin trying to save it, just overcorrects it. Hard contact into the outside wall for the 12 machine.
And also, Doug Pierce is going to get a little bit of glimpse and a clip at that of the 12, and only able to make it 2 laps before our first yellow comes out, and that's going to be seen. Andrew Medlin, heavy damage that he's going to be dealing with for the rest of the night. Michael Boyd, required damage as the 81 takes the toe to pit road and is going to be calling it a night potentially here, as he is going to be sitting in pit road for the majority of this time. As our first yellow comes out, gives us time to thank some of the sponsors here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Want to give a shout out to, you see on our top left, iRacing iFlag. iRacing iFlag provides racers with the best iFlag virtual flag system around. It allows drivers to be given clear, concise flag information on what the flag state is on track. As well as if you got another iFlag virtual flag system, you can have yourself a visual spotter information given to you on who's on your left, who's on your right, and when you're clear. Thank you to iRacing iFlag for being a sponsor here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. They got plenty of other amazing products. Go over to iRacingIFlag.com to go get yourself some products today. And when you're purchasing, use our promo code FreakyFast2022 to get yourself a discount as well. As the drivers are pacing, Trevor, first caution, a little bit of, we talked about it, don't want to get too overzealous and racing too hard. That's exactly what we saw there.
Yeah, it looks like Boyd just kind of overdrove the corner there, got on the back of Andrew Medlin, and something you don't want to see, especially, didn't even complete all of lap 1 yet, and already 2 cars heavily damaged, 1 potentially out of the race. So not the greatest start here, but we'll rack them up and see what we can do here on the second restart.
A couple of other drivers, Brian Burchett is coming to pit road just to top off and get slight damage repairs on the 33. Andrew Medlin still in pit road, getting repairs done, but trying to stay on the lead lap if possible, which that is a positive here at Indy, with it being 2.5 miles in length. The drivers have about that at 2 minutes of pacing time for each lap. So if you need a lot of damage repair, you have the time to get it done. That's exactly what the 12 is going to utilize here, as he's going to spend as much time in the pit road.
Yeah, it's the nice thing here. If you're a wrecked car, it's a nice thing. You get all the damage fixed and get back out there and stay on the lead lap. But as a driver, these pace laps can seem like they take forever. So I'm sure these guys chomping at the bit to get this race restarted as soon as they can.
As again, up front, going to be that Chris Stitz, as well as Christopher Wade, going to be the front 2. Zach Hall, though, seemed like he was trapped on that outside lane, wasn't able to make the passes as well as he wanted to. Now the 5 is going to be set on the inside on this next restart. Also going to have that of Nick Holland, Cole Sacchetti going to be finishing out your top 5. I mean, that's going to be a question here, Trevor, of on these restarts, we saw Zach Hall got a fantastic restart. He was still side-by-side with the 22. But where would you prefer, if you're the leader on these restarts, where to place yourself, or if you're someone behind the leader, on where to be?
You know, I think as the leader, I don't think the top line would be bad because it gives you a better arc down into turn number 1. But you leave yourself susceptible to losing the bottom line if the guy below you gets a good restart. So I think everybody's going to prefer to be on the bottom just because you get the better run off the corner than the top. So I think for Zach Hall, restarting in 3rd, even though he gave up 1 position off the start of the race, is probably going to be a blessing for the 5 car.
And also going to be following behind the 5 machine is going to be that of Cole Sacchetti and also Ross Tatum. Going to be those drivers sitting behind and seeing how this restart is going to go. We got 2 laps in before we got our first yellow of drivers making contact, that of Andrew Medlin and Michael Boyd. Let's see how this restart's going to go as we are racing to our stage break. Stage 1 break's going to be at that of laps at 25. So with taking these cautions away, that's also going to shrink on these laps. I mean, Trevor, on how the drivers really want to react here tonight on this quick sprint that we're going to have.
Yeah, about 20 lap sprint here to the stage break. So it's going to be, we're going to have to see if these drivers decide to push it and try to get up as many positions as they can, or do they save a little bit and take what they can get before we get to the stage break. And we're going to find out here shortly as we get ready to come off of turn number 4 and get this race restarted.
As the drivers were notified coming into this race where the restart zone is, it's from pit road entry where the wall starts on that inside lane until you see on the outside there's some grass that the drivers can see to their left. Once the grass is away, that is the end of the pit zone. I mean, the restart zone. So the drivers are set up, ready to go on who will take off first. And it's already going to be that of Chris Stitz taking off immediately for himself as we're back to Green Flag Racing at the Brickyard 188.
Yes, Stitz, great restart again from the 22, but Zach Hall on that bottom line, now side-by-side with Christopher Wade. We'll see if he can clear the 53. Might have some help from Nick Holland here down the short chute and down the backstretch.
Oh, man, huge credit to Christopher Wade. That is a powerful run out of turn number 1, and out of turn number 2, he continues to stay side-by-side. Zach Hall just doesn't look comfortable on these new tires as drivers further on backing off. Ross Tatum from up in the top 6 and now falling all the way back to 17th and even further on back, but up front, drivers side by side, and they're starting to single file out for those that are up inside of our top 3.
Yeah, I think for Ross Tatum got a little loose off of turn number 2, and that 11 car still very slow coming through turn 3 down the short chute. But what a move, like you said, by Christopher Wade, able to keep that car on the outside and clear the 5 of Zach Hall.
And then we look here on screen. These are the drivers inside of our top 10 that are running with one another. Seth Reed, good to see that 28 back out on track. He's missed a couple of races. 28s look fast at a lot of different tracks as he's trying to catch up to the 88 at Timmy McNally. And McNally, on the other foot, a driver we've seen in other series perform well and look like a top 5 threat. Really seems like he has fallen off his game, but he's running around drivers that you kind of want to be with. That Joshua Altus and Seth Reed. I feel like the 88 can keep the speed and momentum with the drivers he's around. I think they'll just pull him to the promised land of up inside of our top that of 5, if not even further up ahead.
Yeah, side by side here with Seth Reed in the 28, but for McNally, just got to get that consistency down for the 88 machine. He's shown flashes of speed, but run into some bad luck. Oh, almost a little bit of contact made there between the 28 and the 88. And close there, side drafting down the straightaway.
A little bit. They're happy that they survived, and they're going to continue to stay side by side. It's the 25. Going to be that of Lucas Lyons that's hoping for a better run here this evening. Last week was not the way this 25 wanted to have himself. Continuously caught up in wrecks as the 88 close to the outside wall, keeps it off, but lost so much momentum. He'll now lose position here to the 25, the Lions, or will he a better run at turn number 2 as we hit the backstretch?
Yeah, able to keep the momentum up out of turn number 2. McNally was, and that 88 machine staying side by side with Lions, but I think Lions might clear him down here into turn number 3, and he does.
They'll throw it down, and now the next driver in line is going to be that of Brandon Pierce, and Tim McNally's hope to stay close to the top 10. It is now falling to hope to stay inside of our top 15. The way we are seeing this 88 fall as that's going on. You're right on board with the 38 of Brandon Pierce as They'll be seeing that of Lyons dropping all the way down to the apron, and usually that's a tactic you want as a leader to try to throw it down low, but it could be the fact that he's seeing some great racing in front of him. It's for 9th place. Robert Sherwood, as well as teammate Joshua Altus, going to be side by side with one another.
Yeah, Sherwood battling it out with Altus in the 28 there of Seth Reed right behind him, going to give a good draft help to the 94 of Altus to try to get around Sherwood, and he's going to try to follow Altus here down into turn number 3, side by side with the 2 car as they head into turn 3.
Rob Sherwood had so many bad luck moments the last 2 weeks with lap traffic. He's hoping to at least stay on the lead lap, but honestly, with the way this lap just went, he was hoping that his teammate wouldn't be the cause of the 2 being taken out of this race, as we're 8 laps in to that is 75, but our stage breaks at lap 25 as the drivers race on up front for the lead. It is close, hot and heavy. It's Chris Stitz, Christopher Wade, and Wade has kept his nose right on the back bumper of the 22. But like we were talking about, the clean air seems to be the factor for why Chris Stitz is holding off Wade.
Yeah, Stitz being able to put that car wherever he wants, not having that dirty air affecting the handling of the 22 machine, being key for him right now. But Christopher Wade showing a lot of speed in that 53 machine, keeping up with the 22. Doing a good job here as he follows him off into turn number 3.
And Zach Hall not too far behind. He'll be about half a second off of our leader, but still having a little bit of a lick of that draft in front of him, so he's still in a comfortable spot. Same could be said for that of Nick Holland, who's just right outside the limit of having the draft. This 68 machine, we've seen in other leagues perform well here this season. He's kind of on the same foot of a lot of other drivers. We were kind of talking about it before this broadcast, Trevor, on the inconsistencies. It seems like a lot of drivers have had crazy highs or disastrous lows. This 68 has been on that roller coaster as well here this season.
Yeah, he's been one of those drivers that, like you said, has been on that roller coaster ride of the highs and the lows. But for Nick right now, doing a really good job running in 4th, trying to catch up to our leaders as Zach Hall's starting to close in on this battle for the lead. But for Nick, just be consistent here tonight, give him a solid top 5. I'm sure that'll feel like a win for the 68 machine.
Then we see on screen the battling for 8th place is Joshua Altus, that it continues to be moving forward, and talked about that as Seth Reed and Altus. They're 2 drivers you kind of want to be with because they always seem to go forward, and here tonight might be moving together as Altus stays side by side with Will Bustler. Gets the better launch, doesn't have the draft help as the 36 does, but able to at least keep the nose ahead of the 36. What a great launch out of the corner, and will keep it as Seth Reed gets blocked off. He goes way too fast in the corner, and he'll fall back, losing a spot to that of the 2.
Yes, I think Reed got a little bit of a bump there from Sherwood going off into turn number 1. Almost ran over the back of Will Bustler, but a great job by Reed not wiping out the 36 and himself there, but does end up losing a spot to the 25 of Lucas Lyons.
So seeing everyone in the line, single file out. Trevor, you've ran at this track. Oh boy, there it goes again. Sherwood just seems like he's got such a more of aggressive entry than everyone else. Gives another shot, but I don't know how much more that nose and that bumper can take. If we're going to continue to see Robert Sherwood go with those aggressive launches in, and see on our ticker a little bit side-by-side action, it's for the lead as that of the 22 of Chris Stitz. I think he might have hit the wall or some type of issue because he's now lost 2 positions in a blink of an eye.
And not sure what happened to Stitz, but Wade's got by him, and now Zach Hall gets by him in the 5. And Zach was slowly catching this group, so I'm not sure if he might have a little bit more tire saved up this early on in the run compared to those 2. But for Stitz, losing 2 spots this early on, you wonder, like you said, if he got up into the wall at some point.
Went back and looked. He didn't get into the wall, but he practically did. Had to slam on the brakes to make sure he didn't clobber and pancake on the exit of turn 4, which lost all his momentum, which is now gifted. That is Zach Hall and Christopher Wade to battle for now the lead between these 2 and the 5. He might have qualified second. He's backed up to second, and now in a great position. We saw this back 2 weeks ago at Charlotte. Zach Hall was so good on the long run. It looks like he's got that long run speed as we're now halfway through this stage number 1.
Yeah, sure, great long run speed back at Charlotte until some pit strategy unfortunately put him further back in the field than I think he would have liked. But for Christopher Wade, you saw it there in turn number 3 last lap, just missed the line a little bit, pushed up toward the wall, lost a little bit of time there to the 5 car, but much cleaner 1 and 2 this time by for him. But Zach Hall with a good run off of turn 2 down the backstretch.
He's going down into turn number 3. Zach Hall inching closer and closer. And speaking on the line, there it is, hugging the white line as Zach Hall, as Christopher Wade, a half a car length up too high, gives the opening into turn number 4. The 5 machine as Zach Hall takes the lead, and he'll lead here at the Indianapolis 188.
Yeah, great move there by Zach, keeping it on the bottom. Wade just a little bit too high those last 2 corners. Allows the 5 to get to his inside, get the better run off. So now for Wade, it's settle in, get back in your rhythm, and see if you can track him back down and get back by him.
And then Zach Hall's going to be running a little bit high on the entry of turn 1. Curious if he just carried a little bit too much speed. And Trevor, that's kind of a thing here tonight. Talked about the lines that are going to be used. Curious on how they're going to run as you see Michael Boyd going to be getting back out on track. The 81 has been able to get his repairs, and he's now going to be making the charge as the pass for second is Chris Stitz. He rebounds and gets by the 53.
Wade looking like he's struggling here these last couple laps in the 53 machine, now falling back to third as Stitz seems to have recovered from his near brush with the wall and back up to second. But Wade, if he's not careful, is going to fall back into the clutches of Nick Holland in the 68.
Well, if we talk about last lap, Nick Holland was the fastest car inside of our top 4. We look deeper in the field, though. We see some other drivers that are battling with one another as they're trying to get by lap traffic of Michael Boyd as well. Trying to battle on where they're at. This is for 16th place. Philip Chavez, that of Aaron Hale, and then Ross Tatum. We touched on that last restart, lost a ton of ground from that of up inside of 6th place to that of 20th and worse. The 11 trying to make a rebound for himself, but it's going to be a long night after losing the track position like he did.
Yeah, he's got a long way to go for the 11 car. Not quite sure what happened to him off of turn 2, but I mean, he was really slowed down the backstretch into turn number 3 there after that restart. But so far, back up a couple spots after he fell all the way to the back of the pack. But like you said, Sam, it's going to be a long night for him after giving up all that track position.
And track position so key here at Indy is the air is important. Dirty air is going to cause you a very difficult time to make passes. And I think as we're watching this pass being made, I think the one thing that's always interesting when you talk about Indy and some of these bigger tracks on trying to save tires, I've heard it from different practice sessions and different leagues that we've watched here at Freaking Fast Broadcasting, Trevor, and it just seems like when you're in dirty air, it's even harder to save tires. It almost feels like you're using up more tires than saving.
It really is. It feels like the car gets really tight on you when you're following somebody and you're having to put more wheel into it than you would like. And and you feel like there's nothing you can do about it. Burns the right front up, just makes the car super tight. But when you're in that clean air, kind of like what Ross has now, it feels so different until you catch that next pack of cars, and then it gets that super tight sensation on you again.
As we're watching the battling here on screen, this is for 14th, where we got Tim McNally, who's been falling back. At one moment, we were about to praise him for cracking inside of the top 10. Now, hoping to stay inside of our top 15. As you got that as Zachary Peterson about to make the pass here as he sits in line, waiting to see how you want to make the pass and the driver ahead of you. And as these drivers continue to stay in line, we move up to this group where we see last week's winner, Cole Sacchetti, 2-time winner of Cameron Sarton. But got to say, Cole Sacchetti, he is now caught up to this lead pack. Top 5 driver is now up to that of Christopher Wade, Nick Holland, Chris Stitz, and the only driver right now that's faster than this 42 is Zach Hall. But this is looking shades of what last week was like for Cole Sacchetti. He was mighty fast on the long run as well. That put him into victory lane.
He fast at Bristol on the long run, fast at Charlotte on the long run, as well as he gets around Christopher Wade as Wade continues to fall back here in the early portions of this race. But for Sacchetti, just working his way up through the field now, trying to set his sights on Nick Holland in that 42 machine, like you said, looking quick.
Trying to make this 42 crack at least into that 3rd place. Be in a great position at our stage break as we are inching closer and closer. It's the end of lap 25, where Zach Hall's hoping to grab some bonus points. And for this 5 machine, kind of running just for wins, came in a little bit too late to try to challenge to make it into the playoffs. But a lot of these other drivers still trying to make sure that they're in good positioning. And as we're looking at the drivers that are inside of our top 5 right now, Nick Holland, I would say, is in the spot where he has to finish up here up front as he comes into tonight as our bubble driver in the points with only a 3-point lead over Bo Tiffany and 4 points over that of Zachary Peterson.
Yeah, with 6 races to go before the playoffs, Nick Holland really needed a strong run just to solidify that last place or that spot in the playoffs, coming in just 3 points above the cutoff line. And so far for the 68, doing a great job running in third. But, anything can happen later on in this race. But for Holland right now, focusing on what's in front of him, and that's 22 car Stitz, as he has a half little look there coming out of turn number 2.
Trying to figure out where do you poke your nose, and he's going to go now down to the quarter panel, try to utilize a little bit of side draft, trying to pull back this 22, and in the entry of turn 3, takes the position, is right there, and now Nick Holland going to be stopping a little bit in the middle of the corner, which is going to help out Cole Sacchetti, who's now going to be making the charge on the inside. The 42 looking good, as the 24 now starting to creep his way into this pack.
Yeah, Sark slowly but surely catching these guys as they continue to battle in the 24 machine. Got to get around Christopher Wade to catch up to these two as Sacchetti and Stitz still battle it out in turn number 1.
The longer they stay side by side, the more that's going to be helping out that of Cameron Sarn to close in on these drivers and to potentially try to take these spots away, as we've been seeing the battling for second place on back for these last about 5 laps or so. Zach Hall has now pulled away to over a 3-second gap lead. As you see on our ticker, those are the drivers aiming to grab stage points. If you're in the top 10, those stage points are yours at the end of lap 25.
Yeah, those stage points as we dwindle down to get closer to the playoffs are going to be so key, especially for the guys that don't have a win yet this season. So everybody trying to battle for as many stage points as they can get as Sacchetti finally clears the 22 of Chris Stitz.
He will finally make that pass, and also going to be seen battling for 8th place, Will Bustler and others. And into pit road, we're seeing back behind, I believe that is going to be Lucas Lyons hitting pit road, which is a very odd time to come into pit road. These drivers were notified around 27 laps. They felt like they were good on fuel. And Lyons with this pit stop, kind of a head scratcher for myself. It could be a strategy for trying to get better track position later on.
Yeah, strategy call from the 25, but just an odd one. Sam coming in this early before the end of the stage. Not sure how it's going to work out for him. We're going to have to wait and see, but it's just an interesting call.
Well, I mean, with how big this track is, it's not the worst call in the world, because at least you know by the time you get back out on there on track, he's going to take tires, fuel, and the 25 should still stay on the lead lap. And if he doesn't, he'll have the fresh tires to at least put him back onto the lead lap. As more drivers actually trickling into pit road. This is a full strategy call. As more drivers, that's going to be Seth Reed, Brandon Pierce, both hitting pit road.
Pit strategy right before the end of the stage. I didn't expect to see this tonight, but here we go. 2 more cars hit pit road, and starting to wonder, Sam, how many more of our leaders or guys right outside the stage points are going to come down pit road before the end of the stage.
That track position's already proven how important it is there hasn't been a huge shift on positioning, except for a driver that's in 11th place. That's where we find Zachary Peterson, where he lies, as he's trying to watch through his mirrors, seeing that of his teammate, seeing that of Ross Tatum behind me, and as well seeing that of Aaron Hale. Tim McNally, before moves up. He'll be up 11 positions from where he started. So drivers deeper in the field, really utilizing those tires and making a lot of passes. Drivers up front, it's only up 2 to 4 positions. It's the max that we've seen so far. Up front is Timmy McNally, now going to be coming into pit road.
More drivers on pit road, and I can't wait to see how this strategy plays out for these guys after we get through the stage break to see how this plays out. But for Peterson and the 11 of Ross Tatum, if anybody pits in front of them, that could give these guys a chance at stage points as the laps wind down.
And if you're someone like Timmy McNally, you got to be concerned. Seth Reed just got out of pit road and has lost a lot of time on the drivers around him. He is currently the first driver 1 lap down. Lucas Lyons was able to stay on the lead lap, same for everyone else that had come into pit road. Brandon Pierce, and as well that of Timmy McNally so far is on the lead lap, but it looks like a leaders might be passing that of the 88, putting another driver a lap down. So this strategy call, it's a bold one, but it could be backfiring, as that of Joshua Altus now hits pit road. Same for Robert Sherwood, as we are now 2 laps away from the stage break.
More drivers coming down pit road, but McNally, like you touched on, going to get passed here by the 5 of Zach Hall, as Zach just continues to lay down a blistering pace in this 5 car. So for those guys that were further back in the pack, with the speed that Zach's carrying right now, I don't know if they're going to be able to make those pit stops and stay on the lead lap as he joins the 28 as the car is 1 lap down.
I mean, I feel like if you're in the top 6, you could pit and still feel pretty confident that you're not going to go a lap down. But if you're anyone else behind, you kind of needed to do an early pit stop like we saw those of, Lucas Lyons coming into pit road a few laps earlier. So it at least gave them an opportunity to unlap themselves. As you see here, that is Seth Reed unlapping himself, trying to get by the 5 of Zach Hall as we are on, quote-unquote, the white flag of the stage break. This is stage number 1's final lap. Who's going to get those bonus points? As Zach Hall is going to be leading the way, as the driver behind him, Nick Collin, nowhere to be found. And on this lap, looks like no one else is going to trickle into pit road. We've only got about that 6 drivers that tried this attempt.
Yeah, and Sherwood coming out right in front of Zach Hall. And Timmy McNally needs to get around the 5 car here before they come across the line and get the stage caution. Otherwise, this strategy for him is going to backfire, and he'll have to take the lucky dog and be stuck at the back of the pack.
And he's right there. He's right on the back half as he's going to be trying to make the bump potentially here. He'll stay right on the bumper, trying to get a good run out of the corner. It's going to be Timmy McNally trying to get by our leader to unlap himself, and he didn't get the launch out of the corner he wanted. He'll have to stay behind Zach Hall as the lap comes across. It's going to be Zach Hall taking that position. We wait for 10th place, though, so there's still a little bit of time for McNally to make the pass. As Aaron Hale comes across the line, the yellow flag should wave, and this will be our stage break for tonight's race. And did McNally get by? He did, just in time.
Just as the caution flew, the 88 clears the 5 to get back on the lead lap, but I think he took a lot of life out of those tires trying to get around Zach Hall there. So we're going to have to wait and see if McNally overused those tires trying to get back on the lead lap.
Ooh, I mean, what a first stage. We had an early yellow that kind of made this stint a lot shorter, and drivers had to be a little bit more greedy on the positions that they wanted to grab. Others went with the more patient route, but it's going to be that of Zach Hall taking the stage win here for the Brickyard 188, presented by Lap Traffic Podcast. As we've got ourselves the rest of the top 10, it's going to be Nick Collin, Cole Sacchetti, Cameron Sarton, and Chris Stitt. Going to be your top 5, with that of Christopher Wade, Will Bustler, Ken Campbell, Ross Statham, and Aaron Hale. Going to be the rest of your top 10 here at this stage break. Hey, thank you again for joining us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're going to go side by side. You won't miss a thing. We'll be right back here for more of the Full Send Racing Series for the Brickyard 188. He's following. They're wrecking. They're splitting. And it's a complete mayhem.
We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7. Takes out the 00.
They're 5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my. The 5 wide here. This ain't gonna work, is it? They're already wrecking into turn 1 and now coming through that of turn 2. This is it, the Daytona. Oh no, they're wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall. Gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron. Drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside trying to get the win. And it's William Edison stealing it at the line.
Into the wall. The 18 trying to block. 77 to get into the 18. That leaves 3 of TJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of TJ Roberts is gonna steal the win here.
What second fiddle so many times last season? Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Full Send Racing Series. My name's Sam Dyer. With me, Trevor Earhart, as well as Robin Warrior Jr. Riding Productions. Top 5 drivers on old tires. No more stage breaks. We get to race it to the end. We're green here for that of the Brickyard 188.
And Altus with a great jump over Brandon Pierce in the 38 machine as Lucas Lyons looks to the inside of Rob Sherwood, the battle for third there. But the first car on fresh tires is going to be that 5 car of Zach Hall in 5th. So we're going to have to wait and see how quickly he can make his way through these guys on the alternate pit strategy.
And Zach Hall, he was very patient on that first stint. He was really willing to stay behind until he felt like his tires were at the maximum potential and then started to take off. But now, going to be having that of anywhere from 3 to 4 lap advantage on tires with the drivers in front of him. Trevor, that is a huge advantage to have, and he's making the outside lane work with the fresh rubber.
Yeah, just got a huge drive off the corner there of Lucas Lyons. But yeah, that advantage is going to be key, especially with these guys. Sam, we didn't touch on it when they made those pit stops, but how hard these guys had to push to not only stay on the lead lap, but to get back around the track and make sure they were ahead of these guys who had to pit. I mean, that takes a lot of life out of your tires.
It was a lot of racing around, and there were a lot of drivers that had issues under pit road. I think pit road might have been maybe more entertaining than the actual stage one that was amazing for us to cover. But that of Martin Berry locked up his brakes, got into the inside wall coming into pit road, and wiping out Andrew Medlin, who Medlin could be calling it a night for himself. Luckily has a win, so his race isn't completely over. And as well, driver that's up front in 6th, that of Lucas Lyons, brushing the wall under pacing. At 25's got to hope that damage is going to be hurting him as the sun comes out. It's time to see what the drivers have on track as the fresh rubbers trying to still carve their way forward.
Hall gets around Sherwood, right behind him, the 42 of Sacchetti, trying to make his way through these guys on older tires. They start to fade to the back of the field, but so far so good for both of those drivers. They continue to work their way forward.
So half the track's going to be under cloud coverage. It is going to be mostly cloudy, as you can see. Gray once again on the track, but the track depth did raise a degree, which it's been 104 degrees out on track. And the wind, it's swirling slightly, but staying pretty consistent at 3 to 4 miles per hour. But the wind positioning, it's what's changing. That could be also an effect for these drivers. And Trevor, that track temp is starting to rise. That's something the drivers got to be concerned about.
Yeah, as that track temp rises, it's going to make this track hot, slick these cars up. So they're going to have to hang on to it, as it'll make these things a little bit looser than they already were at the start of the run. So we'll have to see if that causes some havoc for these guys as this track continues to heat up.
And I gotta say, I'm quite impressed on how the drivers on old tires are performing right now. They came into pit road, went with the track position strategy. And Joshua Altus, as well as Brandon Pierce and others, I gotta give kudos. They're still all running inside of the top 10 at this current moment.
Yeah, and Pierce doing a good job here, holding off the 5 of Zach Hall right now for the battle for second. Actually going to be able to clear him back out of turn number 2 and hold on to that second place spot.
That is a frustrating moment to be having if you are Zach Hall, because both Sacchetti as well as Chris Stitz are looming, and those drivers were quick coming to the end of that long run before the stage break came out. They were starting to close in and chip away at Zach's lead. Right now, it is that of the 94. Joshua Altus feeling confident. But in the back half of this front group is where we find the 24 Mickey Mouse machine of Cameron Sarn, who the 24, he qualified that of 9th. He's up to 8th, but he certainly has some sneaky speed late in the runs.
Yeah, I was up in the top 5 there at the stage. Shuffled back here with all the difference in strategies, but that 24 machine quietly quick, like you said. And I think he might be a factor later on in this race as he's looking ahead at the battle between Nick Holland and Rob Sherwood down the backstretch.
As the driver is going to be peeling off, trying to see who they're going to get help with. As further back, you see that of 2 almost 3 wide happening for that of 15th. But up front, pass for that of 2nd, Zach Hall. Trying to make the passes. Oh, Will Bustler, Aaron Hale, they make a slight contact with one another as the 25 Alliance continues to fall back, and he brushes the wall. Bustler into others, and somehow they continue to stay straight. And it's going to be Seth Reed that gets the worst of it there.
How Seth Reed and Will Bustler did not just wreck each other right there in turn number 4, I don't know. That was great car control by both of those, but with the 28 of Seth Reed losing a lot of time as he had to get out of the gas to avoid getting into the outside wall.
And Seth Reed is on the biggest back foot you could be asking for. He has already used 2 of his 3 extra sets in pit road. He's one of the drivers that went with the gutsy call of pitting late at our stage break and then decided to come into pit road. I don't understand on that call, Trevor, but he's got to make up so much more time, making a pass there on Lyons. Now going to be trying to make the pass here on Travis Dart.
Yeah, not sure what Reed's pit strategy call was there. Maybe wanted to just come top off on fuel and didn't realize that he still had tires checked on the 28 machine. Would be what I think might have happened, but I'm not for sure. But he's got to make up a lot of time to make this last of the tires count. But in doing so, he's going to burn up the currents that he has on this car.
And here comes Zach Hall on the outside. Gets right on the back bumper of that S&B Motorsports machine of Joshua Altus. And making a statement, a power move on the outside. And he's hoping it's going to stick, and it will. Back to the lead is Zach Hall.
And that's where he's going to want to be. That's where he's been comfortable all race long. And same, we saw it right, after he got to the lead, pulled out to about a 4-second lead over the field during the course of that long run. So for these guys behind him, Sacchetti, Stitz, Holland, Sarton, they cannot let this 5 car get away from him that far.
And also going to be seeing that of Brennan Pierce fall backwards as that of Cole Sacchetti sits in 3rd. And looking at the lap times, that last time by before Zach Hall had to make that pass was 4/10 faster than Cole Sacchetti. Even now with making the pass, he was still a full 10 faster. That's showing to me potentially Zach Hall using up his rubber a little bit more than what he did during that stage 1 amazing push that he had. Cole Sacchetti and that of Chris Stitz, I'm curious on it with how much they're saving their tires if they're going to have that better long run pace. And this is going to be the time to start to see in the next 3 to 4 laps where will the 42 be placing himself after he gets by Joshua Altus.
Yeah, we're have to wait and see what these lap times look like in the next couple laps as these tires continue to wear as this run goes on. But for Sacchetti, he's got to get around the 94 here of Altus, and that's not an easy pass to make. I mean, Altus has shown some speed, even on these older tires, been able to hold back Zach Hall for a little while. Still running 2nd, but right now under pressure from the 42 machine coming into turn number 1.
Cole Sacchetti now going to be inside, diving down low, and he'll get the pass done on the exit. Now it's Chris Stitz's turn to get by the 94 machine. And for Joshua Altus, his mind is on holding off as many drivers as possible and trying to make it to pit road, which, Trevor, we were trying to talk about it on when we think these drivers could potentially think about that final pit stop.
Yeah, about a 20, I think we were talking about it. It's 25 to 28 lap run is what these guys were talking about in practice on a fuel run. So we'll have to wait and see how this strategy works out. And the key, when we get those green flag pit stops, not making any mistakes, that pit road comes up on you real quick. You're exiting these corners at about 150, 60 miles an hour, and you got to slow all the way down to 55 to make that commitment line. So green flag pit stops can be key here at the end of this race.
And with that being 25 to 28 laps on fuel, that means these drivers aiming for around lap 50 would be the longest these drivers are searching for, or even thinking about coming into pit road at that lap 48. Those are the markers they're searching for. And Joshua Altus has to stay out there for another 10 laps. He's done a great job staying in 3rd as Brandon Pierce and others that went on the same strategy as this 94. They are struggling, and the majority of them have already fallen outside of the top 10. That net gain that they once had is now disappearing in a blink of an eye as Ross Tatum as well. Seeing Christopher Way doing some bump drafting to get by that 38 machine.
Yeah. Tatum giving the big shot there to Wade in the 53, who's fallen way back after, running inside the top 5 there at the stage. All the way back here in 9th now for the 53, but for Ross Tatum in the 11, really good recovery for him after his little mishap on the second restart of the race. And he dropped all the way to the back of the field, now just outside the top 10 for the 11 car.
And he will now crack in a 10th place for that Ross Tatum. And again, we got 5 drivers that have already found themselves in a victory lane. Ross Tatum's one of those who has 2 wins. The other being Cole Sacchetti, who's in 3rd. And that is going to be, for that in 2nd. But the battle for 3rd is heating up as here comes Nick Collin, Cameron Sarton. A little bit of side-by-side bump drafting action on who you're going to assist. And Nick Collin gets the big shove down into turn number 3.
He got a big shot there from Sarton. Sarton backs off so he can make the corner there. But that allows Holland to not only get around Altus, but also puts him side by side there with the 22 of Stitz. And looking to make the pass here on turn number 4 is the 24 of Sarton. Really didn't gain anything there, but it's going to have a huge run here out of turn number 4.
Trying to stay in line, get the runs that they can. They're going to be 3 wide, almost 4 wide, as they're going to be staying 3 wide in the entry of turn 1. Backing out is Altus, and that's a good call by that 94 machine, because I don't think they would have survived if they stayed where they were at.
Yeah, I don't think the 3 wide would have worked there, but Altus thinking smart there, backs out of it. Does give up 2 positions there ultimately, but for the 94, with him being on that tire strategy, it's all about survival for him. Getting to his pit window is what 94 is trying to do here, as Sarton now battles with Stitz down the backstretch.
And slowly closing in is going to be that of Robert Sherwood and others when you're seeing these drivers stay side by side for more than a lap, honestly more than a couple of corners. You see that other group start to slowly chip away, and those that are in front of you, they disappear in a blink of an eye. I mean, Zach Hall already going to be having almost a 2-second lead gap over Cole Sacchetti, and Sacchetti is already going to be pulling 2 seconds ahead of this group that we see on screen as we hop on board with the 2 of Robert Sherwood, who is at least happy that he's made it to this point of the race. He's past halfway, and he's on the charge for a top 10 run.
Yeah, Sherwood looking good in that 2 car on the same strategies as 94 of Altus there. So those 2 doing a really good job of all the drivers that stayed out, staying within our top 10, but under pressure here from the 15 of Ken Campbell. And right behind him, you have the 11 of Ross Tatum and the 53 of Sherwood. The 53 of Wade. So if Sherwood's not careful, he could lose 3 positions quite easily here.
You see the drivers in line. It's Ken Campbell. It's going to get the push from the 11 of Ross Tatum. And Ken Campbell, who usually gives us a lot of information throughout the week of how these cars are feeling at each track we go to. Big thanks to Campbell on that information. But coming into this week, Campbell notified us saying he didn't put in as much practice as he usually does this race. I wasn't sure what type of an event he was going to have, as Ross Tatum seems to be having internet issues, but he'll now stay straight at this moment as he was blinking like crazy coming through the corners.
Yeah, it always makes you a little bit nervous as a driver when the guy, either in front of you or beside you starts blinking out. You really don't know where they go. It's almost a little bit of contact between the 15 and the 11 there. But always a little bit of a frightening moment, but looks like for Tatum now, looks like, as I say that, he starts blinking again down the backstretch, but hoping that internet issue works itself out for the 11 car.
I know that, for the blinking issues, it's always something that's interesting because as a driver perspective, it is a connection issue of yourself going to the server for the drivers, and everyone else is just seeing that connection issue. But from us, from a spectator mode, we're just seeing the drivers blinking in and out. But when you're on track, that car can either blink in and out, or it can be making a lot of different moves that you don't expect to see a race car make.
Yeah, it gets really entertaining when you're following somebody or racing with somebody who's blinking. They can do anything from backflips, barrel rolls, 2 tires in the corners, and even blink inside of you, which is the ultimate heart attack as a race car driver when somebody's car disappears and then is inside of your car. So for those guys that were racing around Ross, I'm sure they're glad that the internet issues look like they've worked themselves out.
Cleaning up. And another thing, a lot of these drivers, when you see some with internet issues, most of the time it's because they're on Wi-Fi, which is always interesting. But some drivers, it's difficult to get their Ethernet cord all the way to their PC, so Wi-Fi is their friend, but also could be their enemy. As we look deeper in the field, we see the 3 of Ryan Lynch, Brian Burchett, battling with one another. 2 drivers that have been on the move, and Burchett, one of those that did not qualify. The 33 now going to be moving up 10 positions from where he qualified, and here comes Bo Tiffany trying to take that spot as well.
Yeah, 2 drivers we really haven't talked much about tonight. And Bo Tiffany and Bruchette both moving slowly up through the field as Tiffany now sets his sights on the 33 machine of Bruchette. And both of those guys slowly making their way up through the field as this run continues. So might have saved a little bit of tire early on. And as this long run continues, those 2 still find the speed.
And as they're battling, note of a driver that just hit pit road, that is going to be Brandon Pierce, who's now going to have to try to make this tire and fuel combo search for 31 laps if he wants to take this stop and make it his money stop. He still has one more set of tires to work with, so if there is a late caution, he stays on the lead lap. His race isn't over, but certainly he's banking on this race to stay green.
Yeah, that's a big ask from Pierce there in the 38 machine to go 31 laps. I mean, we were told, at max they were thinking 28, so that's going to be a lot of fuel saving, and we're going to have to see how that works out for him.
Here comes the teammates, SMB Motorsports, Joshua Altus, Sherwood, and Zachary Peterson all into pit road for themselves, and they're going to be trying to make this pit stop work for 30 laps. These are all the drivers that pitted before the stage break. They were low on the chances of making it as far as they wanted to that lap 48 marker or even 50 lap marker. That's really where you wanted to find yourself, and now got to go into fuel saving and hope also you have a big enough gap over the drivers that are going to be getting their fresh tires here. And most likely, the next 5 laps or so, if you're Zach Hall and others, you could still go another about that of 10 more laps. So now the question is, how far along do you want to go and how much time are you willing to give up?
And that's going to be the big question. And for these guys who just pit, the trade-off is, do you push hard now to try to build a gap on these guys that are staying out and then save fuel, or do you save fuel now so you know you're good and then push? I mean, these differing strategies are going to make this really interesting as we get closer to the end of this race.
I feel like you have to push now, right? I mean, you got the fresh rubber. You're gonna have, this is the best your tire rubber is gonna be on comparison of what the leaders are at. You got to go now, build up that gap, and then hope that you've had a big enough gap to save fuel. I mean, that's the only thing that I could think of in my brain that you'd want to do with this strategy.
That makes the most sense, because if you do it the other way around and you save fuel now, the guys that are pit, if you don't pass them, they're still going to have their fresher tires than you, and that advantage that you have now is null and void. So for those guys that just pit, Sherwood, Altus, Pierce, I mean, it's go time, and then save fuel for those drivers.
And another driver coming into pit road, that's going to be Doug Pierce, going to be getting his service. So both Brandon and Doug, the Pierces, get their pit stops done and over with. As leading the way by 2.5 seconds, it's Zach Hall, as his 5 machine joined the league a couple of weeks ago and already searching for his first win here. Trevor, usually up in the booth for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thought he would give a hand and give a try and go see what his skill level is going to be basically with this league. I gotta say, he is hoping to get this victory here at Indianapolis, which is a track that this 5 machine loves to be at.
Yeah, I've seen Zach in other leagues perform really well here at Indianapolis. He loves this track, and so far putting on a show here tonight, up to almost a 3-second lead over Sacchetti. Had a 4-second lead before the stage break. That 5 car is on rails right now.
Feeling good, feeling comfortable, and you see the constant change up. That's another thing here, Trevor. This track is changing each and every, I feel like 3 to 4 laps on how this track surface is changing. That cloud coverage is changing the track surface's weather, but the track temp has continued to rise even with the cloud coverage, as we're up to 107 degrees for the track temp as more drivers trickle into pit road. Philip Chavez as well as Brian Burchett get their service done, and a little bit of the wind is picked up as well since we've been looking at the weather last time.
Yeah, and as that weather changes, the track warms up, and even if the wind starts to kick up, I mean, with it swirling, but only at 2-3 miles an hour, it's not going to affect that car much. But if that wind starts swirling any faster than about 5 or 6, it really make these cars, the handling characteristics on these cars change a lot.
As drivers up front now going to be making their pit stop. Talked about that lap 48 to 50 was kind of the window, and when it opened up for drivers to feel good that they can make it to the end of this race. Nick Holland, Chris Stitz, and as well Ken Campbell all coming to pit road, and the race on and off of pit road. I feel as well, Trevor, this is going to be interesting because now we're coming up 25 laps to go. You need enough laps to come, if you've given up too much time, if you're Zach Hall up front, you're hoping that the drivers that have already come to pit road don't pass you on just raw speed of them having those extra, couple of laps on fresh rubber. But if they do pass you, you're going to want a little bit of time to catch back up to them.
Yeah, you're going to, you don't want to allow too much time, like you said, for these drivers to get out there and pull a gap on you. So as these leaders start to pit, I'm sure, Zach, Sacchetti coming down pit road right now. Sarton stays out, but those drivers that are staying out, you only will probably want to stay out 1 or 2 more laps so you don't give up too much time, and you got to maximize your pit entry and pit exit without getting a penalty.
We're seeing drivers on the fresh rubber trying to get by those that are still on the lead lap. As Cameron Sarton, second place runner, it's got Philip Chavez as well as that of Brian Burchett, and also going to be seeing some others behind slowly starting to close in. That was Ross Tatum. He's now closed in the gap drastically to second place with having lap cars defending and blocking that of Cameron Sartin. Odd positioning for the 24, the two-time champ of the Full Send Racing Series to be feeling, but he is feeling swamped with lap cars.
Yeah, as you get passed by these guys on fresh tires, it's so difficult because it puts you out of your line, really upsets the car. The car's handling is you have to run a different line, and he lost a lot of time there to the 11 of Ross Tatum.
Into pit road, Zach Hall making his pit stop as others further deeper in the field come in with their time, as Cameron Sartin gonna stay out for an extra lap. Same for Ross Tatum, as following with Zach Hall is gonna be Christopher Wade. Will Bustler stays out. And now the strategy calls continue to switch up, but I like this call from Zach Hall. Come in now, he knows he'll stay on the lead lap, so if a yellow flag comes out, he's still in the good.
Yeah, if a yellow does come out, Zach will be fine, won't go a lap down, but also, trying to minimize the damage done by staying out that long compared to the guys on these that have already made their pit stops. So it'll be interesting to see now what Cameron Sartin, Ross Tatum, Aaron Hale, Will Bustler, and Bo Tiffany all decide to do. These top 5 drivers still yet to pit, so we'll have to wait and see what their decision is going to be here.
As drivers have already found themselves cycling through, it's time for us to give thanks to more of our sponsors here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. As whenever you have issues out on track, well, you might need a button box to help you immediately throw out a yellow, and that's what the admin box can do for you. It's a plug, set, and go admin box, perfect for drivers that want to become that race controllers or just that of league admins for their races. Hosted or league races, they've got you covered. And if you go purchase your admin box today and use our promo code FFB-BOXX, that's FFB-box with 2 X's at the end, you can get yourself a discount code today at the admin box. Big thanks to all of our amazing sponsors. And hey, if you want to help us directly, go purchase some of our amazing merch here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We got that of hoodies, t-shirts, and more in plenty of sizes, colors, and go get them now at that of the store frontier for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. As the drivers continue to race on, we're coming up to 20 laps to go here next time by. Trevor, it has certainly been a wild and different race, but what Indianapolis seems to always give, it's the strategy race at the end.
Yeah, the strategy's playing out here is Sartin, Tatum, Hale, Tiffany, Lynch, all still yet to pit. Alta, Sherwood, the 2 that pit the earliest, they're now up to 7th and 8th with Zach Hall behind them, trying to run them down. But this pit strategy, it's getting really spicy here, Sam, with these top 5 still staying out.
And, the one driver I was aiming at, and I kind of circled coming into the night meet for me personally, Ross Tatum. I've seen him perform extremely well at Indianapolis, and when it comes down to strategy, this 11 always seems to have the right one when it matters the most. And we'll see if this works out as he stays out another lap more than that of Cameron Sartin, who hits pit road.
Sartin down pit road now. Tatum staying out another lap for the 11 car. And Sam, he might usually play the strategy well, but I don't know if this is going to work for that 11 machine with how much time he's given up to these fresh tires.
And he's got 2 wins already this season. He's locked into the playoffs and coming to 20 laps to go when he crosses the line again. Why not try a gutsy call like this? Stay out, hope, and bank on a yellow flag to come out in the next lap or so. It's the perfect time to see that yellow come out because we're seeing that transition of new tires compared to the old. Some drivers might run into one another. Others might just get blatantly loose. We haven't seen that yet here tonight, but this is a great call in my part for the 11. At least try something gutsy. It might not be a winning move, but it certainly is a gutsy one that can roll the dice with.
Yeah, it very well could be. And like you said, with him having that win, it allows him to try something new as he comes down pit road this time by.
And also going to be seeing the 4 following suit of Aaron Hale. And the question now looms for Bo Tiffany and Ryan Lynch. Do they stay out for an extra lap or do they come into pit road? Bo Tiffany will stay out for another lap here as we hit 20 laps to go here at Indianapolis for the Brickyard 188 presented by Lap Traffic Podcast.
And for the 11 of Ross Tatum, Sam, it could just be 2 tires and fuel with as long as he's run, might not have to pack as much fuel in it, and could just get 2 tires here, which would be a bold strategy call for him. We're going to have to wait and see on his pit stop if he decides to take pole or 2, but I mean, anything's possible.
It is 2 tires. He went for 2 tires only for the 11, but he will not be ahead of drivers that have already made their pit stop. This is going to be a gutsy call for that of Ross Tatum. He still has another full set of tires to work with, while the rest of the field, they are passing by the 11 machine, and the driver that's going to take the lead after this pit cycle is done will be still Zach Hall.
Yeah, Zach was able to get around Sherwood and Altus there, as those two probably trying to save a little bit of fuel, like we touched on with how early they had to pit in this pit cycle. But that 5 car looking strong here, just waiting to get the lead back after Bo Tiffany and Ryan Lynch both come down pit road.
The driver that's probably most irritated, Cole Sacchetti, he pitted a lap sooner than that of Zach Hull, but he's been trapped behind Robert Sherwood and Joshua Altus, and he's been having to work for every single spot. And this 94 has made it so difficult when he was on that of 4-lap older tires. He's still on 4-lap older tires after a new pit stop, and still just as difficult to get on by.
Yeah, I'm sure Sacchetti now breathing a sigh of relief that he's cleared the 94 machine, but lost a lot of ground to the 5 of Zach Hall. But, I mean, hey, you got to do what you got to do to defend your positions, and Altus just proven how quick that 94 car is, even on the different strategies, just kind of being a headache to these guys trying to get around him.
Sometimes you got to do every little thing to scratch and claw for the best positioning that you can get as these drivers continue to race on. I want to talk about the future that's coming up, as after tonight, next week, the drivers go short track racing once again, heading to the Rock. Rockingham is our next destination, and then after that, Mid-Ohio with some narrow, difficult, that of road course racing, and then Atlanta in that 2 weeks. Curious on what we're going to see on the schedule. It says we're going to run the 2018 version, but there's been talks. We could be seeing that get changed up to that of potentially the new version of the Super Speedway 1.5 mile version.
Oh, these next couple of races are going to be spectacular. You got the rough, bumpy short track of Rockingham that, I mean, one step wrong at that track could just, annihilate your car as you get into the wall. Then you go to the narrow, road course that is Mid-Ohio with the blind corners. And then what could be the wild card, either Old Atlanta or the Super Speedway Atlanta. I mean, these next couple of weeks are going to be exciting.
And I really hope it's Old Atlanta. I've kind of missed seeing that track. The hot Atlanta surface, hot, slick, and you never know what the tire wear is going to be like. Hope to see that in 2 weeks, as saw Bo Tiffany in the 29 relinquish his lead into pit road, was not able to get all the service that he wanted. Going to take 4 tires and fuel, and will drop practically to last place. And staying out is Ryan Lynch, who has been out there on track, Trevor, for 32 laps now. He has to come in either this go around or the next, but I don't think he can stretch it any further than this.
Yeah, it's been an impressive fuel run for the 3 of Ryan Lynch, but like you said, probably going to have to come to pit road at least this time by if he wants to make it back under power, and it looks like that's going to be the case here as the 3 pulls off to come down pit road for his final pit stop.
And it was a gutsy call, but it just wasn't enough, as we're coming to 16 laps to go, and Zach Hall at a turn number 4 going to be passing that of the 3 machine, and he's now going to have that of a 3-second lead gap over Cole Sacchetti. And Sacchetti, he's on the 1 lap older tires. The advantage goes to the 5, and with us having 16 laps to go, as long as nothing changes, this is looking like Zach Hall's race, but he's got to make sure he doesn't get into the outside wall, and also lap traffic plays nice with him to the end of this run.
Yeah, for the 5 now, it's all about just hitting your marks. You don't need to push, as you've got about a 3.5 second lead over Sacchetti. Just to hit your marks, be smooth, don't get into the outside wall, and as long as there's not a late race yellow, I don't see anything or see anybody catching the 5 car.
Just doesn't look like that is going to be the case, as we're watching some of the battling on track for 5th place. Chris Ditz, Nick Hall, and once we're battling for that of 3rd place, now trying to see who can stay inside of the top 5 as well. They're starting to catch up to Joshua Altus and Rob Sherwood, and the main reason why, those 2 drivers talked about it when they first came to pit road 15 laps ago. It was a gutsy call on their part. He was right on the edge of making it on fuel, and now they've saved up enough. Can they hold off on the older tires now with the drivers behind?
Yeah, for Sherwood and Altus, I mean, they were the drivers that pit right before the stage break, and then had to pit a little bit early, so having to save fuel now for these 2 as they try to use those new tires to their advantage to pull a gap on these drivers that had to make these later pit stops. But starting to fall back into the clutches now of Stitz and Holland as they kept trying to track down the 2 car.
He's going to be having Rob Sherwood. How much can he defend, and is he willing to throw away a good finish here tonight to keep on blocking? As see that Cameron Starr and Christopher Wade closing in as well. And looking at the lap times, looks to be that of seeing Zach Hall the fastest, and Nick Holland did not get a clean run out of turn number 4. He has to back out, and now he is going to lose that spot to Cameron Starr. And Starr now starting to be on the move and is the fastest vehicle on track at the moment.
Yeah, I think Holland got a little loose off of turn number 4 there, and Sherwood and Stitz almost make a little bit of contact there off of turn number 1. But the 24 is starting to move forward now, showing that speed, the long run speed that the 24 has, looking to go 3 wide here down the backstretch.
There was some contact between the 2 and the 22, which gives a perfect opportunity for that of Cameron Starr to go 3 wide. He'll clear, he'll move up, at least get by 1, he'll get by both, 2 for 1 on the straightaway, and now has his sights set on a top 3 finish as that group continues to be a little bit of a gaggle and almost a chance for some more contact, as that of Christopher Wade's got to be careful. He almost squeezes into Rob Sherwood, and Sherwood's got to be careful. He's been really putting that 2 in some very risky places on the track of almost being spun around.
Yeah, Sherwood probably just wanting to get to the end of this race and finish a race after the last couple of weeks that the 2 cars had, but you know, with these guys on these fresher tires tracking him down here, he's been put in a couple of awkward situations, but looks like it's sorted itself out. But the biggest loser in all that was Nick Holland. I mean, he got passed by not only Stitz, but Sarton and the 53 of Christopher Wade. So the 68 lost a couple of spots there before he finally was able to get around the 2 of Sherwood.
It doesn't help that he's on the older tires compared to that of Cameron Sarton and Christopher Wade. Again, of note, Cameron Sarton is on some of the freshest tires out there of the drivers inside of our top 10. He's got a 3-lap advantage over Zach Hall, but the big disadvantage, he's 10 seconds back. It's just too far of a gap to catch up to the 5 machine as we're coming up to 11 laps to go.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have a chance to run down the 5 of Zach Hall, but you know, battling now with the 94. Baltus able to clear the 94, so up to 3rd now for the 24 of Cameron Sarton. But right behind this group that we've been watching battle in the 11 of Ross Tatum. Took those 2 tires and a little bit of fuel, and Ross slowly but surely moving his way up through these guys, so the 2 tires must be working well for him.
It felt like he lost too much ground by staying out for too long, so cut some of that time away with the shorter stop. And now going to be up to that of 8th place, and technically, as the yellow comes out, this changes everything. It's Zachary Peterson spun around.
Oh, this throws a wrench in everybody's plans, and for Zach Hall, this is the last thing you wanted to see with almost a 5-second lead. All that's going to be erased as we go back and take a look and see what happened to Peterson.
This is afterwards. You see that rear end damage. He was actually that is Zachary Peterson, excuse me. Going to find himself. This is the spin out. He gets into Brandon Pierce after losing control after bumping the wall. But that rear end damage actually coming from contact between the 4 of Aaron Hale punting the 96 into the entry of turn 1. And it was just a non-safe situation. And now, Trevor, who stays out? Who decides to come in? We're going to have 10 laps. When we go green, it's going to be that of 6 laps to go.
Yeah, we thought the pit strategy was crazy before this caution. I mean, this could change everything with what pit strategy we might see here. You know, most of these guys, I think, still have a set of tires left in the pits. But, I mean, do you come in, give up the track position, or do you stay out and risk being the only car out on old tires?
There's one person who doesn't. That's Seth Reed in the 28. He has to stay out in the 28. So we at least know one driver that is going to be on older tires. The question is, who's going to follow with this 28 to stay out? And if it caused a big enough wall, we saw with that of Joshua Altus, I mean, they were able to hold off and defend, but there was only about a 5-lap difference on tires. Now, a lot of these drivers have about 10-lap difference, and here we go. The strategy calls. Majority of the field is hitting pit road.
I mean, if you're Joshua Altus, Rob Sherwood, you know, those guys that were on that different strategy that had to come in early, this is the caution you wanted to see. This allows you to not only get fresh tires, but closes the gap back to the leaders, gives you another chance to be in for a shot at winning this race. And I'm excited to see what happens. Is it looks like Seth Reed and Bo Tiffany, the only 2 drivers that ended up staying out under this caution.
Oh, and that makes this pit stop so important. Who's going to win at a pit road? Because you're going to be in 3rd place. You're going to be on the inside lane where you want to be. Who is going to win out on the exit at pit road? And it looks like it's the 2-tire strategy. Cole Sacchetti, Cameron Sarton taking 2 tires, pushing Zach Hall back to 5th.
A 2-tire call there from Sacchetti, from Sarton. Maybe heard a little bit of something of how it worked out for the 11 of Ross Tatum. Those 2 deciding to take 2 tires. And so now our front row on old tires, the 2nd row, 2 tires, and then everybody else on 4. This restart is going to be wild.
We've seen the long run pace from the 5. It's been dominant. It's been the short run pace, though, where we've seen kind of some issues pop up. And now it's a looming question of how is this going to work out for yourself? And it's going to be Seth Reed, Bo Tiffany, going to be the front 2 with Cole Sacchetti, Cameron Sarton, 2-tire strategy for themselves. And everyone else taking 4 tires. Man, this is one of those calls where you just don't know. We saw that also. Gotta throw this out, Trevor. We saw drivers have issues on these new tires, having to get loose out of the exit of turn 2. Should be another spot where we could see that of drivers just feeling a little bit too antsy, getting on the throttle too soon, finding themselves spinning out. Or we could see, like we've seen 2 to 3 times here tonight, drivers just getting too aggressive on the entry of the corner and running someone over.
Yeah, either one's an option, especially on these new tires with how slick the car usually is on new tires. And not only that, but the track temp almost up to 110 degrees. So the track's gotten hotter since these guys were last on fresh tires. So that could play a factor in it as well.
Weather conditions, we've tried to keep our eye on it. Started out around that of 104 degrees. It's gone up 4 degrees since then. The wind has crept up a couple of miles per hour, but it's been swirling of different directions. It has not kept consistent, but it's been a slow swirl where it just is going that of west, south, southwest. It just continues to bobble back and forth in those directions. On top of that track temp, because we're under pacing, track temp's gone down a degree or 2. So the drivers are getting a little bit of assistance under this pacing, but we're stacked up, ready to go. Trevor, it's going to be an 8-lap shootout. Still the opportunity of a yellow here. What are you thinking that we're going to see on this last stint?
I think we're going to see some very aggressive 3-wide, if not sometimes 4-wide racing here as these drivers try to get around one another. And, my favorite for that caution was the 5 car. I don't know, based off of, what might happen here. Anything's possible, and I don't know who to choose here as these laps wind down.
It has been an incredible run for a lot of these drivers to watch. Cole Sacchetti was the fastest during practice. Chris Stitz was the fastest during qualifying. But the driver that's been staying pretty consistent was Zach Hall, but he falls back to 5th. The first of drivers that took 4 tires. We've got our front row, drivers that are on some mighty old tires compared to the rest of the field. The second row, drivers that took 2 tires. Then everyone else have 4 tires and are ready to attack for 8 laps here for the Brickyard 188. Pace car's ready to pull in. The green flag is at the ready. It's time for us to have a little bit of a shootout here for the Full Send Racing Series here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Here we go. Let's get back to green flag racing here tonight as Seth Reed. Old tires, we'll see if they can stick here at the end.
Reed making sure those tires were warm on that restart so he didn't spin them. Gets a good jump over Bo Tiffany. The 42 of Sacchetti clears Sarton, but Zach Hall now trying to get around that 24 that's on those 2 tires to not lose a lot of ground to the 42.
Cameron Sarton, I thought he was going to have a good stint here, but not able to make those 2 tires work at the immediate launch. With Zach Hall, he is stuck on the inside, 0 draft help, and he'll need a miracle if he wants to get back in line, as everyone else is going to be trying to make the push. Bo Tiffany going to be at the quarter panel, down into turn number 3. Tiffany going to be taking the lead position from Reed.
And Reed now really falling back as Zach Hall goes after the 42 of Sacchetti, but not quite able to do it. But they're going to get caught up behind the 29 of Bo Tiffany. That's going to hang them both up here as Sacchetti gets a little loose off of turn number 4.
He gets loose, going to be putting Zach Hall to the outside. Going to be side by side for 3rd. But Bo Tiffany feeling comfortable, trying to put the nose to protect and help anyone that he feels like is going to be the best decision. Zach Hall, he's made the muscle move on the outside before. Make it again. The 5 just clear. It is clear for 2nd. from 5th to 2nd place in just a lap and a half. And here comes Zach Hall. Bo Tiffany, the sitting duck. Can he defend? It doesn't look like it, as we're going to be seeing that of Cole Sacchetti. We right on board 42. He's trying to get the draft help to the 29 into turn number 3. Here we go. The first opportunity for Zach Hall.
2x2 for the top 4 spots, with Zach Hall going to easily clear the 29 of Bo Tiffany. As Sarton clears the 42 of Sacchetti, as he's still hung up on the outside behind the 29, and that's going to allow Stitz to his inside. But for Zach Hall, set and sail now, as he's got the 24 of Sarton and the 22 of Chris Stitz trying to chase him down.
And Stitz, again, he was the fastest during qualifying. Cameron Sarton was quick during practice, but they just never worked out for these drivers in the qualifying realm for the 24. But now it is on. It is all about who's going to have the better strategy. It's Zach Hall who took the 4 tires. He's been the dominant driver all night long. Once he got the lead, got the clean air, no one has touched the 5, but Cameron Sarton, the 2-time champ, he might be the one that could potentially knock the 5 off his pedestal.
Yeah, Sarton on those 2 tires trying to chase back down the 5, but right behind him, Stitz on those 4 tires trying to run them both down, as you see him start snaking down the straightaway, trying to break that draft from one another. But Zach Hall's still starting to slightly pull away from these two for 2nd and 3rd.
And again, for Zach Hall, he is banking on this race to stay green. We're coming to 5 laps to go, but once we get to 4 laps, if a caution happens at that point, this race will go into overtime. But the question is, will we get to that point as this 5 machine continues to try to pull away? It's a half a second gap, about that of 5 car lengths, and Zach Hall's trying to pull away each and every corner.
Yeah, once that 5 car's gotten to the lead, I mean, he's pretty much been untouchable. And for the 24 of Sarton, I don't know if those 2 tires are going to work, as I don't think he's making up a lot of ground on him. But for Stitz, I mean, he's on 4 tires, but also not making up any ground on Sarton. So maybe Sarton might have a little something in these closing laps, but I just don't know, Sam.
He's Cameron Sarton's got to hope that he's got a little bit of magic. I mean, the 2-time champ looked so quick during that first stint. He was the one rivaling in speed. He was just too far back from Zach Hall, and he tried something different, hoping that by taking 2 tires, he would have taken the position away from Zach Hall. It didn't work. He was trapped on the outside. He had to figure out how to defend the 5 machine, and it just has not been working. We're 4 laps to go. If a caution strikes now, we go into overtime, and Zach Hall's pulling away. And now the question is, who's going to finish in 3rd, with Chris Stitz, Cole Sacchetti, and Christopher Wade now starting to close in on the battle.
Yeah, Wade to the inside here of Sacchetti coming out of turn number 2, going to have the run down the backstretch, and Nick Holland trying to figure out who he wants to go with. And right behind him, the 11 of Ross Tatum, having a great recovery run for himself, just watching on as these 2 continue to battle for 4th place.
I mean, Ross Tatum at one point was in 6th place during that first stage, fell all the way back to 25th position, and he's been recovering each and every time he comes into pit road. He gains at least 5 to 10 positions. He started back in 8th place on this restart. He's up to that of 7th. He's got 3 positions in front of this 11 machine, but I don't know if he's going to have the speed nor the time to get the passes done. 3 laps to go for Zach Hall.
3 laps to go, and this battle still rages on for the 4th place, and they are getting antsy with each other. As now Nick Holland looks to the inside of Christopher Wade after Wade wasn't able to make the move on the 42 of Sacchetti. Holland now trying to make a move to the inside of the 53 car as they come out of turn number 2.
And the more they battle, the more closes in that Sprite machine of that of Ross Tatum. He's trying to crack into the top 5, and I think a top 5 finish would be more than enough. I mean, at this point, you'd say this is a successful recovery run, but you look at Nick Holland, he needs every single point possible to make sure he's got a bigger gap heading into the 6 race stint that we're about to be heading into. This is so important points-wise if you want to make the playoffs, but at the same time, you are racing for every little scrap, and we're coming to 2 laps to go as here comes Zach Hall over a 2nd lead, and it continues to grow over Cameron Sarton.
Yeah, that 5 car just continuing to grow his gap over Sarton. Sarton holding steady over the 22 of Stitz, and Sacchetti trying to hold on for that 4th place position with those 3 drivers right behind him, doing a good job so far, but Wade still trying to pressure that 42 machine.
42 just is struggling at this point, but he's doing a great job defending. But onto the backstretch, Zach Hall, 3rd start of the season. His goal was to show up and go for some wins, and tonight could be his first of how many we'll have to see. He looked so strong 2 weeks ago at Charlotte. Didn't show up last week for Bristol. But tonight, this Zach Hall in the 5 looking for the white flag at a turn number 4. And it's going to be your freaky fast white flag that we're coming up to. This 5 machine, he's been the top of the class all night long, and he has 4 more corners to go.
4 more corners for Zach Hall. Just got to get through them, not get into the wall. Don't overstep the boundaries. Almost a 2-second gap for Zach, so just no need to push any more than you have to, and he'll bring this home with a dominating victory.
See the clouds looming. The rain never came, and it's all on the 5 showing up here tonight. The clean air. We talked about it at the top of the broadcast, how important it was, and once the 5 got to that position, no one could touch him. No one even came close to passing the 5 under green flag conditions. And out at that, at turn number 3, looks so good. At a turn number 4, it is primed. It is sealed. Lick it and send it. It is all that as Zach Hall. It's going to be the fruit machine getting it done here at Indianapolis for the Brickyard 188.
A dominating performance there by Zach Hall. Once that car got to the lead, he was untouchable all night long. Brings it home for his first win of the season. Cameron Sarton comes home second. Chris Stitz third. Cole Sacchetti holds on for 4th. And Nick Holland will round out your top 5 here tonight.
A little bit of shuffling of drivers deeper in the field, but still up front, dominated. And Trevor, I thought it was going to take a little bit longer than this. But Zach Hall came to his favorite track, and he showed why it's his favorite track here tonight.
That he did. I mean, he was untouchable tonight. I don't think anybody, I mean, he drove a perfect race for that 5 machine. Strategy played out just the way he wanted it to, and he's going to walk out of here with a very strong victory.
Well, he got the restart he wanted. He was the first driver with 4 fresh tires. He was on the inside, and he had to get by 4 drivers. Got it done in a lap and a half, and no one else was even close. Almost 2 seconds was the gap to that of Cameron Sarton. I think the rest of the field's going to be lucking out that this 5 machine isn't someone that they got to worry about for the playoffs. He just doesn't have enough starts for it to matter, but he will have some fun burning it down as the 5 gets to do so. It is Zach Hall with the win, and do not leave, as we will be right back here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll let the 5 have some fun, but when we come back, we'll talk to our top 3, Chris Stitz, Cameron Sarton, and your winner of the Brickyard 188 presented by the Lap Traffic Podcast. It's Zach Hall. We'll be back in just a few. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Freaky Fast Broadcasting post-race show as we have our top 3 Ready to talk to all of them. We're going to start things off with that of third place finisher here tonight, of that of the 22 machine of Chris Stitz, to get his point of view on how this race went down. Chris, it's Sam and Trevor up in the booth. Congratulations on another top 3 finish. But man, you looked fast at the beginning. Give us your thoughts on that last 8-lap dash to the end.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was tough. The car was really loose on those cold tires, and I was basically using the throttle to turn the car for the most part, and it was a lot of fun, but hard to drive, and I had nothing for the front two. They were very fast.
You know, Chris, watching the race unfold. I mean, when you got back in traffic, typically we talked a lot about dirty air. I mean, how bad was it being behind other cars tonight, and how difficult was it to get back by them?
The first 10 laps I was out front. That car was sticking perfect. It was driving great, and then once I got passed by the two guys, I just so much looser. It was sliding, entering the corner. It was just like learning a whole different car over again.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like this car seems pretty unpredictable at some of these tracks. But I gotta say, Chris, you've been looking strong. We know that you got the speed at some point. The victory is on your way. But before we get to those, to those races, how are you feeling about the next couple that are coming up? We got Rockingham. We also have that of Mid Ohio, and the potential of going to the old Atlanta track. How are you feeling about those next 3 races?
The ovals will definitely be something I'll be looking forward to. I'm not much of a road racer, so Road America or Mid Ohio, sorry, that's gonna be a little bit of a tougher track for me. I also haven't raced the track ever, so that'll be fun.
I think that's the one thing we're most excited about. It's a track that's very unique for most, and we're excited to see how it goes down. But Chris, for tonight, congratulations on a 3rd place finish. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Thank you guys. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Frostfire and Lake Anna. Also, my dad out there watching, and Travis and everyone that's involved with the league. They do a great job running it. My teammates, Ken Campbell, Nick Holland, and Martin Perry, very good teammates. And you guys up in the booth, of course. Thank you guys for
That,
coming out every week.
oh, I mean, thanks for giving us a show to cover. That was a fun one for us up at the booth to call. Congratulations again on a 3rd place finish, as good luck as well heading into next week at Rockingham.
Thank you guys. Y'all have a good one.
As that's your 3rd place finisher of Chris Stitz, we go over to that of 2nd place, where we find that of the Mickey Mouse Machine, the 24, the 2-time champion. It's Cameron Sarton we have with us up at the booth. Cameron, a great run for yourself. Went with the gutsy call of 2 tires. It seemed like it was working for a quick second, but was it really the call that you feel like you should have made, or do you regret taking them?
Nah, no really regrets. I had to do something different to try and beat the 5, and Zach, he was on a different level. So I was kind of jumped in. I didn't have a ton of usage on the left sides. I would think I was only 10% off after like 30 laps of previous run. So I thought it was going to be 3 or 4%, which I was. And I just went for it. So I guess it kind of worked out because I got second, but they really didn't feel bad because I think if it was any longer of a green flag run there at the end, I would have taken 4. So I told me and Cole we're kind of deciding. I was like, hey, we're going to finish 1, 2, 3 or somewhere in there, or we're going to finish like 8, 9, 10s, which, not a huge ordeal. We kind of got our win, so we tried to gamble a little bit, but no regrets. It was fun. Zach was on a mission, and hey, we'll take P2 all day.
Hey, Cameron, great run for yourself getting up to P2. And, looking ahead, you got Rockingham next week and then Mid Ohio after that. And surely you're looking forward to, at least Mid Ohio after getting the win at the Roval. I mean, what are you thinking these next couple of weeks?
We can go ahead and put a pass on Cameron for Rockingham. I'm just gonna go race and hopefully get a top 10. I'm not good there, but Mid Ohio for sure. I actually haven't I don't even have the track yet, so I gotta buy it. But for some reason, I feel like I've kind of turned to a little road course arena. So looking forward to that one. It'll be fun. I like racing, not Sonoma and Watkins Glen consistently, kind of those different tracks. So it'll be fun. Looking forward to that. So hopefully that's kind of the next one I got circled on the calendar here. But good points day overall.
It really was a good points day. And Cameron, you kind of touched on it with answering the question of, you have the win. You could try gutsy calls. How does that feel going into these races, knowing that you could really try any possible strategy that you want, and knowing that you really don't have any way of getting backfired on it?
Yeah, it's kind of different. I'm not really used to it. I think last season, I know I got my win kind of after the midway point. So, I was racing for points at first because I was having trouble winning. And then once you kind of get that first win, it kind of opens the book for you. Finishing second or finishing sixth doesn't really matter too much. So it's kind of fun to do different strategies like that. I don't get the opportunity to that much. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So, but it's nice to have in your back pocket to where you don't really have to worry about it as much as other people do.
Well, a great finish and run here tonight, Cameron. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, shout out to mom, dad, grandparents, wife, and dog for watching. Lab Traffic Podcast for sponsoring not only myself but the race. So go check them out if you haven't. Hack Team Racing, Cole and I kind of another good run. Charles kind of came through the field a little bit, so good team point stains there, and we'll kind of go on next week. And shout out to y'all guys for always putting it on. Best in the biz.
Well, thank you for giving us a great show to cover here tonight, Cameron. That is going to be your second place finish of the 24 of Cameron Sarton. Congratulations on that of the second place finish, and good luck heading to Rockingham next week.
Appreciate it. Go Pokes.
As we go from that of second place, we head to victory lane with the driver on his third start this season and already find himself winning here to this evening. We've got Zach Hall up in the booth. Zach, it's Sam and Trevor. What a run for yourself. You look like the dominant car all night long, but how are you feeling after this one?
Well, man, I'm a little worn out. This Xfinity car, it's really only about my second or third race in this car since a long time. Personally, I used to drive it back in the day, and you've mostly been doing cup racing. And man, this car is so fun. It's fun to drive, and it was a little bit sideways, a little bit tight, a little bit everything. But most of all, I just love Indy. I just one of my best tracks, and I think everything kind of just came all together tonight. Just the car, man. I don't know. It's one of those nights where you feel like you're one with it, and it just nothing's going wrong.
I mean, Zach, you looked pretty much untouchable out there once that car got into clean air. I mean, took you a little while to get up there, but once you got up there, you set sail. I mean, how difficult was it for you to make those couple of passes to get to the lead, or were you just taking your time?
Personally, I was kind of worried when I qualified there about third or fourth there, sorry, or actually second, all over the place there. But yeah, I was kind of worried about, qualifying there on the outside. I wanted to be on pole. I kind of messed up my qualifying lap, unfortunately, so didn't get to get out there on pole and had to drop back a few spots, but methodically just kind of let the two guys up ahead of me kind of race each other. And once I started seeing them slide the rear end and kind of push the nose off the exit of the corner, I kind of knew that was my time to go. And I got by. Luckily, I think it was Chris made a mistake, and then I was able to get by Wade too. And there got clean air, and man, the clean air is it's definitely a difference maker for sure. Always in iRacing, and it feels good when you're out there out front.
Hey, Zach, I've talked to you about how this season was looking like when you were thinking about joining this series. I know we got a couple of the tracks that you're feeling most comfortable about. We got Rockingham, we got Mid-Ohio, and then going to be finding ourselves going to Atlanta. I believe we're going to be going to the old surface of Atlanta. How are you personally feeling, though, for these next couple of weeks after getting the win here tonight?
Well, those all sound great. I mean, Rockingham next week, I'm a little worried about that. I'll go into that with just going to be questioning probably how I'm going to do there. I that's definitely a weird track, and it'll depend on how the car drives. So going to that race with not a lot of expectation. Mid-Ohio, personally, that's the one I got circled. It was Indy and Mid-Ohio I kind of had circled on my list when I joined, and can't wait to get there. I haven't raced a Mid-Ohio race in so long, and I love road course racing and stock cars, and man, I can't wait to go out there and race with these guys. So should be a fun time, man. And then, the rest of the schedule, just having fun, and definitely not going to be able to make the playoffs or nothing with coming in so late, but it'll still be a fun time being able to get out here and race with these guys and compete.
Well, Zach, it was an awesome run that you had here this evening. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Well, first off, got to shout out the sponsor here tonight for the race, Lap Traffic Podcast. I actually checked them out this morning because, I'm newer to the league here at Full Send Racing, and, I was getting used to getting to know their sponsors here, and, Lap Traffic Podcast, they sponsored the race here tonight, so I checked out a few of their podcasts, and man, that's really, really a great podcast. So if you're out there looking for a NASCAR podcast, make sure you go check that one out there, folks, because I tell you, it's a real good one. So thank you to them for sponsoring tonight's race. Thank you to Full Send Racing here. These guys are so fun to race with, man. They got some really good drivers out there, and I know it looked like I was pretty strong here tonight, but I think it was kind of an outlier with just this track and how it just fits my style of driving. So you've got to shout out them for letting me come in here and race with them. And then last but not least, shout out you guys in the booth for always putting on a good show here. And can't wait to go back and watch this one and see how it all played out throughout the field. And last but not least, shout out to my spotter too, Brandon Kyle. He did a great job tonight keeping me cool, calm, and collected.
Well, that is going to be your winner this evening, Zach Hall in the 5. Congratulations on the win, and good luck heading to Rockingham next week.
Thanks, guys.
As we go from victory lane, we take a look at what the unofficial results are going to be here tonight at Indianapolis for the Brickyard 188 presented by the Lap Traffic Podcast. And what a night it was. We got to see some great long run pit stops going on. We also got to see the short run sprints at the end. And overall, it was Zach Hall getting the victory here this evening. Cameron Sarton with his 2-tire stop, able to get second place. Chris Stett's going to be getting third with 4 tires. Then the last of those that tried 2 tires, Cole Sketty gets 4th with Nick Hollins 5th. 6 goes to Christopher Wade. Ross Tatum gets 7th. Ken Campbell gets 8th. That of Robert Sherwood gets 9th, with Joshua Altis going to come away with that of 10th place here this evening. And Trevor, some other drivers having some highs and lows, but overall, I think we've got to feel bad for Andrew Medlin with how this race went for that 12 machine.
Yeah, poor Andrew Medlin there. I mean, just didn't even make it to lap 2 before got caught up in an incident, and then another incident with Martin Perry coming to pit road at the stage break. So not the night the 12 wanted, but thankfully he's got that win in his pocket, so not going to affect him too much here tonight. But, great runs throughout the field. Nick Holland finally able to get a top 5, putting all that pace that he's shown to fruition here, coming away with the top 5. Ross Tatum with a great recovery up to 7th. Sherwood finally, after the last 3 weeks, finishes a race, gets himself a top 10 there in 9th. And Aaron Hale, up 13 spots for Aaron Hale all the way up to 11, so almost a top 10 for the 4-car.
It was crazy to see some of these drivers and how they were running, but tonight certainly was a good one to watch. If you missed out, you just showed up right now, well, you just missed a great barn burner that will be starting up here shortly, or you can scrub back and watch from start to end on how this race went down. But if you want to see some more great, incredible racing throughout the week, well, we got some great races coming up. Starting off with tomorrow night for the Wicked Racing League. They're going to be finding themselves heading to that of Talladega. That's going to be a good one to watch. As well, going to be seeing that of the Stars and Stripes having their great run on Thursdays. Then we got Friday off. We're back with that of the WSSR running on Saturday. Then we get Sunday off. Monday, we got ISRC and the Truck Series as they're coming to the end of their regular season. And then we're right back here for the Rock at Rockingham. Trevor, a lot of great races throughout the week, but man, I think I might be most excited for next week when we get to see these drivers going back to a short track.
Going back to the short track, personally, one of my favorite tracks on the service, the Rockingham. Old surface, the bumps, the multiple lines you can run, the speed that you can carry. It's going to be a wild race next week. I cannot wait to get back to next Tuesday and see the show that these guys put on for us.
Certainly should be a good one, as tonight Zach Hall finds himself into victory lane. Question is now, who will be the next driver? Technically, Zach counts as the 7th different winner this season for race number 10, but this will not count to put Luck in the 5 into the playoffs. The question is, who is going to be closer to the playoffs? Well, all those will be answered next week at Rockingham, and cannot wait to give you all that coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor Earhart, and for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else that helps out here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining us here tonight for the Indianapolis 188. Hope we see you next week for that of Rockingham, and if we don't, hopefully we'll see it tomorrow night. It should be a good one. It's the Wicked Racing League heading to Talladega.